Good morning. Hey, everybody. Adam Davidson. RadCast, grab a quick drink of coffee, and here we go. We're in the book of John on our way to the third Sunday of Advent. It starts at John chapter 1, verse 6. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify concerning that light. By the way, the light that we're talking about is the light of all mankind. That is Jesus, right? He came as a witness to testify concerning that light, so that through him all might believe. He himself was not the light. He came only as a witness to the light. You know what's really cool about being a witness is it doesn't require a lot of resources on our part to tell the story. All we got to do is say what we saw. You're not having to conjure up something or put your best foot forward or try to construct a best version of yourself. A witness merely talks about what they've experienced, what they've seen, what they felt at the time. All those things. Being a witness is kind of easy. John the Baptist is a witness to the light, and his job is to bear witness to the light, to tell other people about the light so that they might believe. And he's been sent not of his own volition, but by God. Now listen to this. Listen to old John the Baptist as we go on in the John reading to verse 20, John 1:20. John did not fail to confess, but confessed freely, I am not the Messiah, which means John knows who he is and knows who he's not. And so the people are asking him, Jewish leaders are like, well, then who are you? Are you Elijah? And he's like, no. And they're like, well, are you a prophet or the prophet? And he says, no. And they said, so who are you? Tell us who you are so we can tell the people who sent us what you say about yourself. And then John says, I'm the guy from Isaiah 40. I'm the voice of one calling in the wilderness, make straight the way for the Lord. And then they ask more questions, and John is like, listen, this is about Jesus. It's not about me. The thing that I love about John the Baptist as an Advent voice, and this is something that Robert Weber talks about in his book, Ancient Future Worship. John the Baptist, number one, knows who he is and knows who he isn't. He has a clear vision of himself, which is so difficult for us today. John knows exactly who he is and exactly who he's not. He's merely a witness to the light. He is not the Messiah. What a great reminder. You and I are not the messiahs of our own lives. Two, God will often put people in our walk who are like John the Baptist to us. They're sort of radical. They're maybe even calling out things in us, or maybe reminding us of how serious sin is and how important it is to deal with that before the Lord. You might have a John the Baptist in your life that's kind of bugging you, and God's using them to sort of stir you. And then last, John the Baptist cares very little for himself. His own agenda and his own dreams and hopes don't get in the way of what God has called him to do. Man, I want to live like that. I want to be like that. And so this Advent, this season that we're in, God stirs the waters of our hearts and even, forces us in a way to ask hard questions about ourselves. Do I know who I am? Am I letting God speak to me through others? Maybe even with a word that's kind of annoying. Maybe they're actually talking to me about sin and tough stuff. I don't want to talk about that. And then, do my hopes and dreams get in the way of what maybe God is calling me to do? That requires surrender. You got to hand it to old John the Baptist. The dude's not afraid to put on a camel vest and eat locusts and wild honey. He'll do whatever he's got to do because that's what God has called him to. Let's you and I live the same way as we bear witness to the light. Now go and simply tell the story and live the story of the coming Messiah. That's RadCast.